Hello everyone! Welcome to my new big tripod. Today, it's finally winter, as you can clearly see. I got super fascinated with putting plushies on my belt since the Labubu trend. Yeah, connecting with the inner child. Today, I'm here with my new cat as well. His name is Winston Light. Let me introduce you. Today, I wanted to talk with y'all about something that only artists and creative people could relate to. I'm here with my coffee, but I cannot show you the mug because it is X-rated. As an artist, sometimes we face the fear of what our creation could do to the world in a negative sense, in a negative aspect. Because we all know the bright side of things, right? Of making art can elevate people, can induce or inspire self-expression and self-connection and relatability. But what about when we create something that is so vile, that is, I don't want to say evil, right? But chilling, disturbing, something twisted. And we, as artists, we do that. It's not like we don't do that. We actually mostly do that, you know? Because art comes from pain. It comes from experience. It comes from emotions that you can't really express them in any other way. Like anger and sadness and emptiness. This November, there was NaNoWriMo. If you don't know, NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. Something like that. It's like a challenge where writers all across the world write about 50,000 words of a book in a month. It's like a challenge. Get yourself out of writer's block, get yourself out of perfectionism. You know, it's for us to use our tools without any commitment. But you know, I'm kind of like a lunatic, so I overcommit to things that I like, and I committed. I started a whole book. But this book is something that I've been dreaming of writing. I've been dreaming of expressing since I was a kid. But I never really thought it was okay to show parts of humanity that are like that. My book is about psychopathic sexual sadist who is murdering women that look like each other, which they resemble his ex who broke his heart, and she was a vampire, and he kills them, and he takes their heart out, and he freezes their bodies, their heartless bodies, because he needs to accumulate a number of them to resurrect his dead ex-girlfriend that broke his heart. From this dude's perspective, right? It's also something I don't do very often. As a writer, I usually like sticking to all-knowing narrator, you know what I'm saying? I like that more. Maybe not even a narrator, but the story is coming from a third perspective. Knows everybody's feelings and everybody's emotions, and see everything that's going on. But this book, I've been writing it from first person, which means the thoughts, the feelings, the processes of the person is what's highlighted in the writing. He's trying to get out, but I can't let him out. I've been thinking a lot about it because, you know, to depict a sexual sadist, you have to show elements of sexual sadism. Anyway, I also have new nails. I forgot to show you that I have new nails, and I do my makeup a little differently now because I've upgraded. You have to show elements of sexual sadism. You have to feel those elements in order to write them in an equation. Maybe I'll hold them, maybe you'll feel better. Do you feel better? In an equation that delivers the person. When something we created or we create is horrendous for humanity, you sometimes have the fear of it affecting the world in a negative way, in a negative sense. And my goal as an artist is exactly the opposite. It's to make people feel good and make people feel seen, want to express themselves, you know, to feel inspired to express themselves as well, and to be themselves, and to feel what they're feeling and who they are, you know. But sometimes we as humans have a duality, and we do have also those elements of life, I mean the negative elements that we need to be seen with and relate to. It's kind of like a dilemma that is going on with me relating to this book, because I want to release this book, and it's going to be a short book, which means it's a small project and I can finish it before the new year, for the new year, whatever. But even though I know I'm destined to write this book and deliver this message, I'm afraid that, like Marilyn Manson and like the Columbine shooters, like I'm afraid that it's going to be taken out of context one day. It's gonna be taken out of context. Like, it's gonna inspire people to commit violence. I don't want that, but it's inevitable, you know, because everything inspires people to like do anything, right? Because people who have like a psychotic break from reality, it doesn't really matter what they see, right? I mean, of course, like it can affect them differently. The fact that they will think about committing crimes. I'm not saying that people with psychosis, I'm not saying that these people who are going through these things are evil or commit violence or commit bad things. And that's exactly why I also am afraid of releasing this book, because it leans into the idea that people with mental disabilities like that, I would say disability because it's the inability to sense emotions of some kinds, it's the inability to stay in reality, completely connected to reality, I should say. It's not the whole experience, you know, that they're violent people, that they're angry people, that they're dangerous. It's not like that in actuality, right? But the people who do those things are usually people of those mental disabilities. Specifically, when I'm talking about like very intense violence, like sadism, it's just a very thin rope between adding to everything that's wrong with the world and being a part of what's wrong with the world, or liberating it by showcasing what is wrong with the world, and also doing it in a way that's more romantic and more digestible, because it's told kind of like a poem, a story from like separate viewpoints. Yeah, I guess I'm just like really, as a person who has a very deep mind, my mind goes everywhere and anywhere. I have thought of like the most craziest things in my life. Like, I've had the most, I don't want to say crazy intrusive thoughts, because it was less intrusive thoughts and more like philosophical ideas, things that I was thinking about. Since I was a kid, I was really introduced to the idea of death, of killing each other, of war, because one, I grew up religious. The brainwashing was 100% there. Also, like, I grew up in the hood, and like here, you know how it is in the hood, like people shoot each other, people stab each other for like minute things. Imagine stabbing someone for an iPhone 5, dude, you can do better. I grew up with this idea, with these elements of thought in my brain, right? I was entertaining clearly I was entertaining death. I was entertaining like the afterlife, you know, what's going on with that, you know, like purpose, stuff like that. But also, I grew up on GTA, which is really funny. In my early years were like really hood core with that. And my mom would always watch police investigation shows and like stuff like that. CSI, NCIS, Criminal Minds, all of those. I would see that. I would absorb that. And I would think about not the people who are killed, you know? I would think about the killers. Because they rarely get a depiction of how they feel and what they're going through. In Criminal Minds, it's why it's my all-time favorite show ever. This shaped my whole personality. And that show, they really dive into the psyche of criminals, of severe criminals. And that just like sunk with me, because they're people too, right? Like I said beforehand, with like the disability and like the automatic relation to violence, but they're still people. They're still human beings, and they have a human experience. And yes, they abused that human experience, but that doesn't rob them of it. Where I'm from, it's a very harsh take. It's a very harsh thing to say. People would look at me like I'm crazy, like I'm gonna kill someone, you know? So that makes you feel a little bit ostracized, and even more thinking about these things because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's willing to talk with you about it, and actually they say you're crazy when you bring it up. So you're like, am I crazy? Am I one of those people who gonna one day go and kill someone, you know? Because I don't see it. The idea of it, the topic of it, is something that's so taboo and you can't talk about it. I was thinking the exact opposite. Because it is taboo, because it is upsetting, because it is happening whether we want it or not, we have to talk about it. We have to entertain the idea, right? And this is also something in relations to that in horror movies and stuff like that, which I obviously love, I would always put myself, you know how you watch something and you automatically like put yourself psychologically, it just happens, in the shoes of the character you relate to most? Well, it's usually the main character. If you don't like the main character, the one you liked more, you would want to resemble yourself as. I would always see myself as the villain, as the killer, as the whatever, the entity, the whatever. Unless it was like a demonic possession and it was like the religious side of me was like, fuck you, Satan, yeah. But, you know, Satan is an angel as well, and like duality again. So instead of putting myself in the shoes of how everybody usually views horror movies, you know, the adrenaline is when you fear for your life, you know, by just sitting in your chair. For me, it was different because I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about it from the perspective of the villain, of the killer. And again, I feel like that places me in a very weird box of like, yeah, I am like all sunshine and rainbows, but my personality also has these elements to it, and my art then, as a consequence, has those elements, and they affect the world whether I would like the way they affect it or not, because I cannot control the way it will affect the world. I can only control the way I feel towards it, or I manipulate it so I can serve it as morally as possible or as uplifting the frequency as possible, right? But I can't really control everybody's experience of perceiving it. And maybe some people would perceive it as like ready to go sign. I don't know, maybe. But honestly, that will also sound fucked up what I'm gonna say now. But I think that is meant to be, and that would actually, in a way, flatter me. Because, yeah, I said it was gonna sound fucked up, because that means they related to it the way they were meant to relate to it. And they took it to the max, you know what I'm saying? It's not a way I'm happy with, or, you know, other people are happy with, but it is still a human experience. We must not forget, right, that what is this video? We must not forget that only humans can murder, not kill, but murder out of joy, right? Out of liking to this action of taking one's life, right? Only people can have this twisted idea of perceiving life and like whatever. So it is still then a part of the human experience, because like, if only humans can be murderers, you know, on this planet at the moment, right, with its current inhabitants, then why not depict that part of humanity that very much does exist? And yeah, nobody wants to be in that part, really. Nobody wants to be in that part, but it does exist. And the fact that we don't think about it doesn't make it not real. This is something that I always see in those like police investigation shows. The fact that like the victims, always people who have just had like the most innocent life, the most soft, wholesome life. Not always, but like most times, you know, depends like on the victimology and like whatever. But usually when I'm talking about either like sadism or like serial killer cases, I'm mostly talking about it serially because I see it more often and it's easier to like dissect behavioral patterns and stuff like that when it's like a series of crimes. It's always like the people who never think about it, they never expect it. And that doesn't stop them from dying, does it? It doesn't. So I feel like making art out of something that is dead, that is death, can make life. This might be a hot take. I'm just sharing my thoughts here. I don't know how this is going to be perceived really, but I don't really give a shit because this is how I feel and this is my art, and I'm going to release my art and I'm going to express myself with my art because this is what I'm meant to do here. Last year I disappeared almost completely because I was really severely depressed and had like financial problems. My girlfriend cheated on me, my bandmates cheated on me. It was a very rough year for me. Going through that year, after that, I realized that the only thing that is keeping me alive really is my purpose of creation, my purpose of spiritual guidance, inspiration. And I'm not saying this like, oh, I inspire so many people and I'm so special. No, but we all inspire someone. We all help someone. We all do something that makes someone's day, you know? So why not make this my reason to live, right? A higher calling just told me that I have so much to give to the world. The world needs me. Like, they were literally begging me. I felt like my spirit guides and like the world, I felt like the world was begging me, was just like, stay, don't quit on me right now. I know it's hard, I know we're fighting everything in the world right now, you know, the positive collective versus the negative collective, war of light and shadow, you know. Being through the shadow makes your light brighter. I went through this like very dark period of my psyche. Not like I never had that before. Like I said, I grew up thinking about death, about dying, about religion, about, you know, religion has its own like trauma, and then I lived in the hoods and my dad was addicted to drugs. Well, yeah, still is, by the way. I realized that making art from that area, from that very vulnerable area of existing, has impact. I'm getting chills only saying that because it has impact. You see it. When somebody makes something that's so dark and twisted but also so inspiring and amazing that you just have goosebumps. This is what I want to create, and I guess this is what I meant to create, you know, because I didn't go through all the shit I went through for nothing, to just like endure. No, like, this is my way of expressing the shit I've been through, but in a poetic way. Yet again, I will close this video. This is a short one today, guys, because I was very like dilemma focused today. It was like, this is something that I want to talk about, and like, that's it. But yeah, the fear that like it's gonna come back to me is like me encouraging that type of behavior of something like that, which is clearly not the case. Well, so I'm gonna have to wrap this video up right now because I don't have much storage on my phone, but just so you know, all of us have, like I said, a duality within us. And if we choose to connect to our negative side, it is on us. If we choose to connect to our positive side, it is on us. Because this is how we perceived what we saw in the world, right? And we acted upon it. So if somebody's gonna kill someone reading my book, it has nothing to do with me. Maybe you needed to hear that because you wanna write a book like that too, or like a game, or like, I don't know. You know. And maybe you do need to kill someone or feel like you want to kill someone, and then I would suggest going to therapy. Please. It's not worth it. Just go to therapy. Just face your life, man. A woman. But it's statistically men more often. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Goodbye, guys. I love you.